Tell us the story.
The story?
The story of the Battle of Moytura.
Well, it started when the Tuatha Dé Danann
invaded.
kicked some Fear Bolg arse!
That's that, tell it!
Stories are 0% interruptions.
Alright, so it started with a flash of fire and air. The Tuatha Dé Danann arrived and burnt their ships as a sign of commitment to this island that they had washed up on. As they walked across stone and dirt, smoke followed, so they looked like men made of mist. Now, this frightened the Fear Bolg, the creatures who had lived on this island until then. And though they had their faults, the Fear Bolg were no cowards, and they agreed to fight. And so it was. The two armies sized up side by side, and there was a tremendous drumming in the air, and the ground quaked below, and then two sides charged! And the two sides met in battle. Sword hit sword, cries echoed through the hills. Nuada, the brave king of the Tuatha Dé Danann, was surrounded by Fear Bolg on every side. He hacked and hewed and hewed and hacked, but the Fear Bolg kept coming, and one of them sliced his right arm to the floor.
And he died.
Not a bit of it. He fought the fiercer with his one arm. All of his strong men,
And women.
all of his strong people, rallied around him till they beat the Fear Bolg back to the edge of the Atlantic Ocean, and off they went.
Mioch reassembled himself again and faced his father eye to eye.
And the thought that his son had a power to match his only sickened Dean Cave further. And his heart was filled with all the small aches and petty slights he had ever felt. And the space between father and son was hardened by the sound of gossips applauding his son's genius. And all of this was enough to tear apart the layers of Mioch, to rip away his skin, to collapse his bones, to crumble his organs, till the boy was nothing but dust and dirt.
And the boy came back. The boy came back.
And then Ermed picked up the scraps of her brother, and she brought them to a tree that they always liked to read under. And there she sat crying for many an hour.
Until she noticed something out of the corner of her eye. In the spot where she had buried her brother's remains, a spurt of grass shot up. And then another and another.
As she walked back over to the tree, she saw that herbs had grown up in the spot.
And as she traced her fingers across them, she saw they were in the shape of her brother.
Where his hair has been, time curled upward, and that taught her that time was a good cure for dry hair. Where his forehead had been, a bit of rosemary lay.
This taught her that rosemary is good for remembrance.
Leaves of lettuce etched out his throat.
And this taught her a good remedy for coughs.
Stock leaves traced his skin, ferns and dandelions made up his legs.
Oh, mistletoe marked his mouth.
His stomach was lavender and chamomile.
His heart was peppermint and parsley.
And bean sprouts flushed out of his bum in case any boy ever forgot.
And Ermed made sure to water the herbs every day, so his body grew as a map of medicine.
And is the boy still growing there today?
The story of Midir and Aideen. Long ago, very long ago, there lived a fairy king. His name was Midir. He was the kind of man who couldn't walk by a mirror without admiring the cut of his suit. Despite this, his wife, Fua, loved him, and the two were happy enough together. Until one day, Midir went for a walk and saw a young girl washing her hair in the stream. As she washed, her hair caught the light, and Midir paused to catch his breath, for he had just seen the most beautiful girl in the world. Her name was Aideen. Much has been written about the beauty of Aideen. Words and notes have been twisted enough to tell her story, and sure, you might be interested to know that her hair was spun in the gold of the sun's rays, or that nothing could be as green as the tunic she wore, or that her eyes glittered iridescent, but all you really need to know about the beauty of Aideen is that it was like a tightrope tensed, like an iceberg sharpened, a pin resting on a balloon. the kind of beauty that burns. Medea took one look at Nadine. That was it. Their fates were fastened. He took her to a shady brook, gave her baubles on the soft grass, wrote oaths to her eyelashes as she blushed to hear them, and held the king of the fairies' hand in hers and reflected his smile in her iridescent eyes. Till the pool of water turned into a stream of smoke, and that stream of smoke twisted itself into a worm, and as the flames continued to blaze, that worm turned into a beautiful butterfly that glittered iridescent, and when that butterfly flapped her wings, she made all the colours of the room shine the brighter. The rich red rug blazed as a ruby. The goblets gleamed 17 shades of gold. The sky outside drank blue deeper than ever before. The clouds puffed a white clearer than God. And when Medea entered, his love shone turquoise and amethyst and a dozen colours yet to be discovered. And he cradled the butterfly in his palm, called her his Aideen, and held her to his heart, which pumped carnation pink.
Now this Finnegas dude was mad into this thing called the Salmon of Knowledge. Like bad into it, like sad into it.
The salmon of what?
The salmon of knowledge! The fish that knows everything in the world!
What?
Listen, would you? You might learn something!
Now, the Salmon of Knowledge used to be a regular old salmon, which is to say, a famine of knowledge, which is to say, dumb as disco.
Zooplankton!
So, one day she was swimming around this well that was surrounded by the 9 hazelnut trees of wisdom when in plops one of the nuts from one of the trees. Now, greedy bugger that she is, she swipes that stuff off.
The square of the hypotenuse is equal to the sum of the squares of the other 2 sides. Who knew?
So, she's swimming around and in pops another nut.
Truth is lies dipped in sugar. Huh. Love is 3 parts listening, 2 parts wine, and 1 part soap.
And another nut.
Ceci n'est pas un pipe.
And another nut. Until she had gobbled all 9 whole, and she was the smartest fish in her school.
Derrida's infamous supplement, c'est supplement dangereux, paradoxically problematizes simplistic binary dichotomies by dialectically differentiating between the chasm of difference and simplistic geographies of proximity.
Thank you. Now, word on the street, the bread on the beat, was that anyone who sucked the juices of this fine fish would be the sharpest knife in the set. So, Finnegas sent young Finn off on a quest to catch it.
And what do I get once I've got this fish?
I don't hit you for the rest of the evening.
Not a bother should have this fish before breakfast. Hey there, fungi. Come here, I just want to play with you. All right.
Gotcha!